All right, are you ready to rock? It is going. All righty, welcome to another Travel Tuesday with one of my best friends in the world, Pradyut. He is from Patna, India, and we met in Puerto Rico over a year ago. And since we've seen each other like 4 times in New York, and we're gonna see each other many more times down the road. And today, we're going to be talking about his first solo travel trip and what he learned, any struggles he came across, advice he has for new people that want to solo travel, and things like that. So first off, how did you decide that you wanted to take your first solo trip?
Hi everyone, hi Joey, I'm excited to be here. How did I decide to take my first solo trip? It was actually, I remember it correctly, it was my birthday, and I had this tradition of going somewhere on my birthday. I didn't plan anything this time, it was in 2019, and I asked all my friends if they want to come with me because I have never traveled before alone. I used to always travel in group. And after exploiting all my options, after getting a no, I'm busy from all my friends, I saw where can I go alone, and I saw Puerto Rico is a place where I thought of going alone because it has a beach. It's a small island. It's still in US, and I had some visa issues back then. I was on OPT visa. Um, and I didn't want to take any risk of going outside the country and then coming back. So that's how I decided to go to Puerto Rico.
And so I know that first solo trip is always nerve-wracking. What were you feeling when you decided, like, okay, none of my friends can go, but I'm still gonna do this on my own? Were you nervous, or were you excited, or what were you feeling?
I was excited. I wasn't nervous. As you know, I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
But I was only concerned about the rules and regulations. Being an immigrant over here, working on a visa, I didn't want to go outside the country.
Right.
I still wanted to be inside. And since Puerto Rico was a part of US, I wasn't concerned that much. It it was definitely not a big concern to go to that place, but um, it was my first time that I stayed in a hostel as well.
That was your
So
first time.
yeah,
Okay,
I
that's an
was
amazing next thing to go into. How did you decide to stay in a hostel versus a hotel or Airbnb or another place?
so I usually used to stay in Airbnb or a hotel before, um, and in all my travels, I've never stayed in a hostel because I've never been alone. So I've always traveled with friends or family. And this time I thought it's better to stay in a hostel because then I'll get to meet new people. It just so happened that I saw Mango Mansion on Hostel World, and I was like, this seems like a cool place.
Right.
So I decided to give that a try.
Yeah, were you nervous at all staying in a hostel? I know some people are nervous about going into a place where they know nobody and it feels like there's already a sense of family. How did you feel going in? Did you feel like welcomed right away, or did you feel like you didn't know anybody, or
So I was nervous from the point where I took a taxi from the airport to the point where I landed. And as soon as I came to the the hostel, everybody was so warm, everybody was so happy, everyone was sitting and having a beer. And as soon as I came over there, I was handed a beer. Somebody was like, give this man a beer. And I'm like, whoa. I know I'm gonna have fun over here. So I started my day with a beer in Puerto Rico with some not so known friends who became really good friends later.
Right.
And I think that was the night when you also came there, right? Or
Yeah, we landed. I got there like 4 hours after you.
yeah. And that was such a good night. We were sitting on a small desk and we started playing that insane game. I was
Oh
half
yes.
drunk.
I remember that. And then I think we went to La Factoria that night. Or that might have been the next
Oh,
night.
I think we went to um, La Placita that night
Ah,
or La
because I
Factoria.
remember one of the nights you walked home like 2 hours at like 4 in the
Oh
morning.
yeah.
Man. Uh so give
That
us a little
was
breakdown. So you arrived in Puerto Rico, and how long was your first solo trip? How long did you end up staying?
oh, so this was a short trip. I was there for 3 nights and 4 days, I guess. And although I had most of the time left for exploring San Juan, I did decide to take a small excursion tour by myself where we went to, me and a couple of strangers went to uh, El Yunque National
Ah, yeah,
Forest.
yeah.
I think you and everyone else went there a couple of days later,
Yeah.
and I'm so jealous to not be a part of that group because that looked like fun too. This is fun as well. And since I was there for just 4 days, most of the time I was spent spent like exploring the city and dancing around. It was a lot of fun. I think I've never had that much fun in just 3 nights.
Right. And you had so much fun you came back the next week.
Well, yeah.
But
I had to
staying on
come
this,
back, right?
we'll come back to that in a minute. But staying on the first trip, being by yourself, staying in a hostel, did you found it was pretty easy to find people to go do excursions with, um, or go to El Yunque with?
Um, Not at all, actually. I'm a very shy person, and I work in tech, so that increases the shyness that I have.
Hmm.
I I'm not that socially, I don't socially bond with people like you do, Joey.
Hmm.
That well, but it was pretty easy for me to find friends and to have connections over there. And thank God I met you first because I was just piggybacking on your connections.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I was actually recently talking to someone about is just like the perspective of more of an introvert, someone who's not super social, because I get a lot of questions on like, isn't it hard to like meet people when you're traveling? And I'm like, from my perspective, no, because I love talking to just every single person I meet. Like it doesn't matter like if we're total polar opposites or if we're similar people. So yeah, that's good info on. So if you do you have any tips on connecting with people at hostels or while you're traveling solo if you are more of a shy introverted person?
Oh, I think just from my previous experiences, if you if you don't have any it basically depends on your communication skills, but if you are just curious about stuff and you don't have any hidden agenda in your mind, it's very easy to talk to people. It's very easy to talk to people because you're just curious about them.
Right.
I've seen many people who, and I've been through the same. But if you're just curious about knowing a person, if you're just curious about uh, their experiences, the shoes that they have walked in, the it basically depends on your purpose. If it depends upon how you approach a person, it depends upon how they reciprocate with you.
Right.
But it's a lot to do about understanding the other person well.
Right. Yeah, just being genuine, which is I think
Just being
why.
genuine.
Yeah, that's why I feel I connect with super well with people while traveling because I'm always just like, well, where are you coming from? How is it like there? And like I honestly just want to know because I'm probably going to be going to that place and I want to have a good experience in some of the places that they've had and just to understand what they liked about it, what they didn't like. And yeah, I think some of the good questions you can ask people just if you are traveling solo by yourself in a hostel, ask them where they're coming from, where else they've traveled, where they're from, what it's like back home where they're from, and just get to understand their culture and their travel experiences. And I think you'll be able to connect with a lot of people very easily because um, I'm sure you've experienced similar, but a lot of people in hostels are very open and they want to have the same conversations that you want to have, and it's just about initiating it. Some like if you are shy, it's hard to initiate it, but once you initiate it, each time it's going to get easier and easier, and then you're going to meet their friends, and they're going to introduce you to more people, and then all of a sudden you'll know everybody in the hostel, and you'll feel right at home. Um,
Definitely.
so back to
Definitely.
this first 3-night, 4-day stay. What were some of the things that you learned from this first experience?
Oh, I think I had a lot of learnings from such a small trip. Having being in a comfortable job, I never used to care about money that much, and um, seeing people how they travel and how the mindset of people when they travel and travel for a long time, it's completely different from mindset of a person who has a comfortable job and travels for like a week or two in a year. It gave me a lot of perspective about why saving is important and why um, having money to do things that you really really would like to do, like traveling, is important. Because I always wanted to travel. I do travel a lot, but I don't stay at any place for like 2 or 3 months like you did, like a lot of other people that I met in the hostel did. There's a funny story actually. My
Whoops.
bad. There's a funny story actually. Today, this year, I was going to Dominican Republic for another short trip for 3 months, and one of our very good friends, um, one of our very good friend Munya, she had already been to Dominican Republic last year, and I messaged her saying, "Hey Moon, I'm going to Dominican Republic for for a couple of days," and she was like, "How many days are you going for?" And I was like, "I'm going there for 4 days," and she immediately started laughing because she never travels or she never goes to any location for less than a week or two, I guess. And she immediately started laughing on how I travel and how how I try to jam pack all my travel. Um,
Right. But it's just
but
different jobs.
yeah,
You have to travel differently, and she's had
so
continue.
yeah, so I get 15 days off, and the amount of world viewing I want to do, I have to pack my vacations into these smaller vacations.
Right.
And being economical definitely helps because after I started staying in hostel, my overall trip to any country wasn't that much that I actually could I actually could travel to a lot many places and not think about money when I'm traveling.
Right. Especially with working in New York and in tech and finance, the
Yeah.
US dollar goes a long way in a lot of other countries.
Oh,
And
definitely.
yeah. Um, so
But the
cool.
thing is, you can spend $10 a night staying in a hostel, or you can spend $200 a night staying in a hotel. And I have done both, and I used to do the 200 part, which was very expensive, and that used to, constrain my thoughts about traveling. And I used to think that traveling is so expensive, but then after I met a lot of travelers, after I met you guys, and after I saw how passionate you guys are about traveling, and how much you enjoy savings and travel the world in such in with such happiness, but such small amount of money that it's not a
Yeah.
concern for you guys. It was very inspiring.
Yes, for sure. Were there any other things that you learned on that first trip that stuck with you?
Oh, definitely. There were a lot of things, but let me talk about one very important thing. I was inspired by you, Joey, because I have never seen anyone with such um, intention of having fun and yet not drinking that much, staying focused on health, having abs, and oh, trust me, I have I've met fit people, but in my world, there are very few people who have good physique. So I always used to work out, but I never used to work out to get those abs. I always used to work out to be just healthy. But from last 2 years, I've been restricting my diet. I've been eating healthy. I've been focusing more on basically having that beach body.
Nice.
So that is one thing. The other thing was just to be more open, and it I think it definitely improved my communication skills.
Yeah.
Whereas I stopped seeing everything in the finance terms and stopped talking everything, um, you know, which everything about tech. Tech was my world. Tech is still my world, but then I now I know how to interact with more people. I understand people better now
Yes.
by this one experience.
Yes. That's the one thing like I always come back to. I'm like, just in our little group that we met in Puerto Rico, the amount of differences from top to bottom, it's like there's people from, we're all from different countries. We all have crazily different jobs and occupations. We have some people who have been traveling for 3 years nonstop, living in hostels. Some people who do it once a year, and it's just like that's something that really opened my eyes as well. And the different ages. Like when I was there, I was 22 years old, and then we had friends up in the 50s, and it was like
Oh yeah,
there's no age, no religion, no political, no barriers, and it was all just like we all came together on a common interest of traveling and sharing experiences. Um, and so, and then going from that, from things you did learn, were there any things you like, any struggles you had while on that first trip? If that were any, I know it was a short first trip, 4 days. I was gonna say any loneliness or anything, or just feeling out of place, or anything like that.
not at all. Actually, that one trip was full of uh, adventure, was full of uh, crazy nights, walking back from La Placita to the hostel, walking back from I forgot the name of that place. Old San Juan, where
Oh
we
yeah.
partied.
Yes, that was a fun night. I remember
Oh,
the next morning I was like, where'd you go? You're like, dude, I had to walk home last night. I think your phone died or something.
yeah. There's another backstory to
Yeah, yeah, I
it.
know. I know.
But that was fun. That was a lot of fun. You know how that night started? That was my birthday night. That was the night of 4th of February, was going into 5th. So I was on the beach when everybody started singing me happy birthday, all
I
the
remember
all the people from hostel.
I remember that. I have a video and it's like cheers and we're all like cheersing on the
Oh
beach.
yes, you were also there. And after that, um, I went to Old San Juan and I partied there till like 3 in the morning. And then I walked, or 2 in the night, I don't know. And then I walked back to the hostel. That was a fun night, dude. That was a fun night. But coming back to struggle part, I'm still a I'm still a very new swimmer. So I
Oh yeah.
can swim back, but I cannot swim as well as I would like to swim. So this is a story that needs to be told, Joey. This is a
let's,
story that needs to be told.
let's hear it.
So me and Joey, we took our boogie board, and it was a free hostel boogie board. It was broken in between, so it wasn't that good. But Joey was like, "We'll just go and we'll just ride the waves." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that. I can swim back. I know a little bit of swimming." So we were there for what, 5 or 10 minutes, and then we started going in and in, and there was this huge wave which kind of knocked both of us down, but you got back on your boogie board in no time, and it was very difficult for me to get back up. And all I remember from there is you holding my hand and getting me back to the shore. And I cannot still thank you enough for that life-saving act that you did, Joey.
Right.
That is when we became brothers for life. Anything
Yeah.
for you, Joey.
And
Anything for
just
you.
just a little backstory. That was within 24 hours of knowing each other. Like that night, the previous night we got there, I didn't get there till like 8 p.m. And like we went out and stuff, but there were so many people. I don't even think we really talked that much the first day. And then the next day, he invited me to the beach with Janina and Melina,
Mm,
and
Marlena.
so we barely knew each other at that point. And I was just like, let's go out and swim. And but that was like one of my the like it was a scary experience, but I mean it's when we became like best friends and like the whole time on the swim in, like it felt like we were like in the middle of the ocean. I was like trying to hold you up, and then all the boogie boards were broke. I was like contemplating screaming for help, and then I was just like, "No, we just got to do this." And then I remember we made it in, and I was like, "Wow, what a time!" And then from then on, we were basically inseparable, and had a fun rest of your 2 days. And then leading into so Prady was there for 3 days, 4 nights, or 4 days, 3 nights, and then he had such a good time that he texted me 2 days later. He's like, "Hey, I booked a trip for next weekend. Let's go camping on Vieques and Culebra, which are two little islands." So I want to talk a little bit about our experience there. What made you decide that you wanted to come back? Was it Puerto Rico, the people that you met, or just that feeling of solo travel and freedom?
I definitely think it was a combination of all of those things. But I remember having uh, tacos on the Taco Tuesday night with all
Yeah,
the hostel people, and I and we have this amazing picture of me, you, Munya, George, and
Julie.
Julie. Yes, of
Yeah,
course, Julie. I love that picture. I absolutely love that picture. We are all posing over there, trying to eat the taco. But I remember a lot about that night, and I kept saying I don't want to go back, but I have to go back. And I guess you and Munia kept saying, "Oh, then stay, don't go back, just
We're
forget
bad
about it."
influences.
Oh, and I remember I had an urgent financial report due, and I had to finish that before I could take another vacation. And I went back, I finished it, I took another 2 days off, and I came back for this camping trip for four nights. And I'm so glad we did that because
Yeah.
that can be another podcast story. It was such a good, good trip. The second trip, I, there's I have this theory that uh, the sequel of a movie is not as good as the first movie. There are very few movies which you can count on your fingers which have a better sequel than
The
the
first.
very first movie.
Yeah.
But for me, this trip was, if not better, equally good as the first one.
Right.
And it cannot be called a solo trip because I knew the people that I was
Yeah.
gonna meet here.
Right.
But even then, that whole trip was so exciting.
Yeah. Give a little
Camping on a
background
beach.
of where we went and like how we got there and what we did.
Oh, sure. So I came to Puerto Rico and we decided to go to Vieques, I guess the very same day.
Yeah.
But because of some boat malfunctioning, we were stranded on between our hostel and this port for what, about 3-4 hours.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Good memory. That's when we met Ken.
That's when we met Ken, and that's when we met Winnie and
Oh yeah.
the girl
She-
from Canada.
Yeah, she was reading the book.
She was reading the book about Otto, right?
I think it was The Power of Now.
Oh, the power of now. Yeah, maybe. And then I don't know how you started talking about our University of Cincinnati chairman, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Ono or whatever his name is.
Oh no, yeah. But yeah, that's where we met them, and we did. And I remember you teaching me and Zoe some basic CrossFit workouts.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Dang, that was a crazy. I remember that. Yeah, we were there for like I think it might have been more than 4 hours because we
I
were
think so
contemplating. It was
too.
getting dark, and we were like, "Are we just gonna sleep in this field, or like we had no options? We were either gonna sleep in the field or like hitchhike our way back to San Juan or something."
Well, we had our camp on us.
Yeah, we had our single person tent. Oh yeah. Okay, so so eventually they were telling us there was like a 10% chance that our ferry was gonna leave that night, and we were all hopeful, and we were like, all right, we're taking the 10% chance and we're going to roll with it. And so we ended up we got on the ferry at like what, 9 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah, it was something like that.
And we got to Vieques, which is this island that none of us had been to. We didn't know anything about. And it was pitch black in the middle of the night. And we didn't have cell service or anything, did we?
Uh, I think we did. Not during the transit to Vieques, but then after reaching there, we did have cell service. Most of our phones were switched off though.
Yeah, I know I didn't have a phone, but so we got a ride, and then tell them about this little place that we stayed.
Oh, that was so beautiful. So before that, we actually went to, I guess, the Levy hostel, charged our phones, and decided where to put our tent. And it was right next to that Levy hostel. We found this small beach place, and we were just walking over there, and Joey says, "This is it. This is where we're gonna camp." This is my vision. It was on my vision board. I
Yes.
saw those small islands. This is exactly where we're gonna camp. And we started. I think it was me, you, Joey, and Ken over there. And Ken finally left. I think he was staying at the lady hostel, but me, you, and Joey, we somehow managed to sleep in that one-person tent.
Yeah, we were all crammed. That was so much fun.
I think we were so tired that we slept way, way too quickly. I remember the second night being more fun than the first, where we
Yeah, because we didn't
started.
get there until like we didn't get settled until like 11 or midnight, I think.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it was later.
yeah, but yeah, tell them about that second and third day. That second night was like one of the best nights of my life.
That second night was definitely one of the best nights of my life as well. So on this second night, we we started the day with exploring the whole island. We were going from one place to another, and I guess Josh was doing 2 trips or 3 trips, taking us on his
Moped.
moped, and later we hitchhiked to this other place.
Yeah, we hitchhiked all around that island. I
We
remember being in
hitchhiked
the back of
all around that
that
island.
yellow.
Yeah,
I remember a yellow truck vividly.
me too.
And
Me
then
too.
we got we all got remember we got split up and you and me were stuck in that like that long dirt road and we came to that like three-way thing and we were like shoot like we don't know which way to go. Do you remember that?
I know. I remember that. And then all of a sudden, Josh is there on his moped.
Yeah, he
They're
came.
like, hop on.
I remember I was so dehydrated. I was like, dude, I can barely see anymore. But then I remember we went to that little store and got coconut water and I was like rejuvenated.
Yep, yep. You were all gaga about that coconut water.
Oh yeah.
And then we went to the Black Sand Beach. We kept walking, by the way. We went to Lazy Hostel, cooked, went to Black Sand Beach, and then what? We hitchhiked again.
Yeah.
Remember, you were talking to this uh, couple, this old couple, and you were like, "Oh, that's where I'm from.
You
That's where I used to go for vacation."
yeah.
And I'm like, is he lying, or does this kid has done so much in his life that he has something common with every person he meets?
Yeah, no, I remember. They were from like Waterloo, St. Louis or Illinois, which is where some of my cousins are from. But yeah, I
Nice.
remember on the little golf cart.
Yeah, on the little golf cart.
Because
And
we stayed at Black Sand Beach. Like we told them we were gonna be back at like 5 o'clock or something, and then we were like, let's just stay for the sunset. We ended up staying there like so late, and we were like, all right, we gotta get back. We gotta hitchhike. But
okay, and this story, you can edit this one, but the third person who was traveling with us, Zoe. Zoe is so beautiful that the whole island had a crush on her.
I'm not editing this out because it's all true.
The whole island had a crush on her, and everyone from Lady Hostel, and I guess there were like 20 people over there. We 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 scouted for woods everywhere. We were those scavengers who were like getting woods from everywhere to make that bonfire, and that was one of the most epic bonfire that I've ever had in my life.
Wasn't
And I
it?
had those small marshmallows. I didn't know what I was thinking getting those small marshmallows, but it was so funny. Everyone was um, playing that same game again. Oh, fuck, shoot, I've forgotten the name
We
of
played
that
it with the
game.
matchbox. I remember there.
But what's the name of the game?
I don't remember.
It's called.
I don't
Okay,
know,
so
but
the
it's a
game,
good way to get to know people really fast. We'll put it at that.
yeah. So the game goes like this. you ask a question privately to the person sitting next to you, and then they have to say a name and flip a coin. If it's heads, they don't have to do anything, but if it's a tails, they either have to take a shot or say what the question is.
Right.
And shoot, I'm forgetting the name of this game, but then it was such a fun game.
Paranoia.
Paranoia,
That's
yeah,
what it was.
exactly.
I don't remember who taught us that. I remember learning though at Mango. But
Was it Lauren? Because I remember she was sitting right next to me when we were playing this game in Puerto Rico. But anyway, what a fun game, right? And well, we went for skinny dipping after that.
yeah, remember we walked I wish I had a picture to show, but I'll post one on Instagram or something. We walked across that little beam, remember?
Yup.
It was a broken down pier and like only the beams were going out. And we walked like, I don't know, 50 yards out or something. And
It was definitely more than 50 yards.
maybe like a football field. It was far. And I remember it was like 1 foot after another. It was like this wide, like just wide enough for your foot to fit. And we walked out there and I remember we were all questioning, like, is there any sharks around here? And Josh and them were like, no, there's no sharks in this water. We're all good. And we're all holding hands, butt naked, jumping off the pier, like swimming around out there. And then we get back in and they're like, oh yeah, that's like one of the most highly populated shark areas in this water. And I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that was.
It was so scary, that little ramp. The first time I tried to go there, I just couldn't walk till there. So I had to sit, and I remember sitting with this other uh, girl who had the same fear. She was scared of water, and she couldn't. She was like, I've been living on this island from last 1 year, and I've never been to that end of the pier because she just couldn't walk um, on those on the small path.
Yeah.
And I remember having the courage to go there after like 10 minutes. Somehow I made it there, and thank God I did, because it was so much fun. Because
I know, props to you. I remember because that was only like 5 days after our first incident in the water, and I was like,
exactly.
I remember I was down in the water. I was like, come on, you got it, like, and I was ready, and I was like, hell yeah, this guy is amazing.
This time I didn't need Joey's help. I did swim back to the stairs on my own, the small
Yeah.
stairs that we had over there.
Yeah.
But it was a good way to get over my fears.
Yeah, you crushed it. And then, so after that, we continued a long night on the beach, and then tell them about the next morning.
Yep, the very next morning we had booked this flight, which is more of a if you can compare a normal if you think of a normal flight as a Mercedes, this flight was definitely a broken down, dilapidated four-wheeler that you can think of, which just came out of the junk. And I was so scared to sit on that aircraft.
I was like, I can't look up. There was only like 5 people on the flight.
There were like 5 or 6 people on the flight, and they were weighing us and our luggage so that we are not, heavier than
Yeah, because we would have just
the recommended limit. I was scared the whole time we were traveling from Vieques to Culebra.
Me too. I was shaking.
And and looking down and looking at the pilot, looking outside, like being able to see in the cockpit and being able to see outside the cockpit from inside the plane was a scary, scary feeling.
Right. You remember
Somehow we,
remember when we got to the place and they were like, Zoe, and she went and got on, and then they were like, Joey, and then they never said your name. Remember that? You had
I actually don't.
you don't remember that? I remember you never like submitted your thing or something, and they never. But luckily they had like one more space, and then you had to buy
Oh
another ticket
yeah.
or something.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
me and Zoe were
yeah.
like, "Are we just gonna leave him, or like, are we going or staying?"
Joey was so angry. I remember that. But
Oh
that's
man.
how I, you know, how I travel. I'm very carefree when I travel. I just live in the moment. I don't plan, and I whenever I go somewhere, I don't have this set agenda that okay, from this day to this day, I'm gonna do this. But this was on a very different level. This was a mistake, which where I thought that I booked the tickets,
Right. Yeah, I
but
remember because I was like, because I'm pretty sure we all did it at the same time.
exactly.
I was telling him, I was like, no, he's getting on. Like, I saw him book it. Like, this is on them. But
Exactly. I think I booked it, but and I had to click one more submit button even after entering my credit card details, and I didn't click on that, and that's how they did not accept my uh, ticket. But thank God they had one extra seat,
right,
and we came to Culebra, and what a beach that Flamenco Beach was, right?
that was like one of the best beaches ever. We played volleyball all day, and then
Oh
we met
yeah,
those people from Dayton, Ohio.
we met those people from Dayton, Ohio, and we met this uh, girl who was preparing for a medical. She was having her 18th birthday. Isabel.
Yeah, I remember her.
Isabel.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
met her when we were getting water or something in line.
Yup. Yup. We were getting empanadas.
Yes,
She
good
was there
time.
for her 18th birthday. Yeah. Me, you, Joey, Zoe. We all were playing volleyball.
Yeah, I remember with that guy. I can't remember his name. I have his WhatsApp though. I ended up playing with him a few more times in back in San Juan, but
Oh yeah.
that was a
Oh
good
yeah. I
day.
remember that.
That was so much fun, and we got to swim. Remember, we practiced swimming for a while
We practiced swimming for a
because the
while.
water. If anyone has a chance to go to Puerto Rico, definitely go to Vieques and Culebra. And on Culebra, the water on Flamenco Beach is like crystal clear. Like we were swimming out like hundreds of yards, and it was still like you could stand, you could see the bottom. There was no waves. That was the best. But all right, so definitely you had an epic first travel experience, solo travel
Oh
experience.
yeah.
Um, so to wrap this up, um, one, would you recommend it to others? And two, what would your advice be for someone who wants to take their first solo trip?
I would definitely recommend it to others. Solo trip is something where you get a chance to grow a lot as a person, where where you get rid of most of your insecurities, where you get to learn a lot about yourself, where you have that solitude, have that moment to reflect upon um, you as a person, what you want from life, how you want to interact with people, and how other people interact with you, what other people uh, are into, learn from them, meet amazing people, meet creative people, meet people who like traveling, but they have and meet people who actually doesn't only like traveling, they love traveling. and how they make this a reality, make traveling their own reality, you know. And
I love it.
what was your second question again?
And then just advice or anything that you experienced that you think would help others that want to take their first trip.
The advice that I experienced was, um,
Or just like if someone were to come to you and say like, hey, I want to take my first trip, but I'm a little bit nervous and I don't really know where to start, or would you have any advice to them on how to go about it, how to feel more confident or safe? Or is it kind of like Lexi's opinion on her first thing was just do it? That was what she said. Um,
if I want an easy way out, I'll just tell them to go to Mango Mansion in Puerto Rico,
right?
because that place is such a such a such a good place. That's so close to my heart. I think every time I go there, it'll feel like second home to me.
Right.
Um, and there's so many good people. But the advice that I would give to anyone traveling solo for the first time will be travel in your own um, country first before going and traveling solo in different countries.
Okay.
So uh, I would I would say that traveling solo in United States, even though United States is not where I'm from. I'm from India, but I've been living in US from last 4 years, so I know a lot about the culture. I know a lot about what to expect from the country, and getting that inhibition out from your mind about solo travel by being as comfortable as you can be by going to a place where uh, you know is safe. Most of the time when we travel to other places, we don't know if it's safe or not. We have no idea about the culture. We have no idea about the people. We
Right.
don't know if we will face some differences or not, or if we'll face some kind of uh, issue with, God knows anything.
Right.
So traveling to a place which is yet in your comfort zone uh, will be my first solo travel recommendation. And talk to as many people as you can
Yeah.
from different nationalities, from different um, uh, backgrounds. Talk to people and see where they have traveled, what they have
Right.
done in their lives.
I think
And
that I was gonna piggyback off of what you said about Mango. I think the one thing that Mango for you and myself, the best thing about that was the amount of people that I met, because I had planning. I don't know how many countries I went to last year, but I didn't know anything about any of the countries. And after spending 2 months in Mango Mansion in Puerto Rico, I think I knew someone in almost every country that I had planned on going to and more. Like I have friends all over the place now where it's like, I want to go to this country. I can call them up and be like, hey, what are things I need to watch out for? Like, which areas should I avoid? Which areas should I go to? And I think that's what you said just about talking to people. Try to talk to as many people as you can that are different than you, like different background, different upbringing, different religion, different, like anything. Like, try to talk to as many diverse people as you can. And I think it'll just make you super confident. And I feel like I can go anywhere in the world right now and get by. Like, no matter how dangerous it is, I can connect with people all over the place just by my past experiences of meeting people from those places, or people who have traveled to those places that have met people there. So I think that was super good advice there. Um, is there any last bit of advice or anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
hmm, oh, the food.
The
I'm
food.
a foodie. I love food, and I had so many mofangos in Puerto Rico. Wherever I go, I enjoy the local food. So if you're going to any 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 place, traveling solo anywhere, try to support as many local businesses as you can. Try to experience those authentic foods. Try to inject money into the the economy of
The locals.
tourism
Yeah.
of locals, like
Yeah.
they keep everything as it is for you. They make everything better.
Right. And they're just so fun to talk. Like that was some of my favorite experiences were just going into like little hole in the wall restaurants, like a mom and pops, and just like having their food and talking to them about business or their experiences living there. And it's food definitely brings people together for sure.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. Some of the best foods that I've had are not at Michelin star restaurants. It's at those small stores where
Right.
where where you're eating that food and like, what is this? This is so tasty. This is
Right.
My mouth is watering right now just remembering all the amazing mofangos I've had
Right. I
in
didn't get
Puerto
to eat that
Rico.
much Puerto Rican food when I was there. I was always just like munching at the hostel like all day, so I didn't really eat
Because
out.
you were so concerned about your abs, Joey.
And I guess that
Joey
too.
was also like Joey was always like, oh, I gotta eat my rainbow salad. I gotta eat this. I cannot drink. But you still managed to have fun, dude. So
Yeah,
that
I
was
had
the
so much
positive.
fun. And that changed a lot when I got to Europe, dude. I ate horrible in Europe. I lived on Italian pasta and pizza for a month and a half, and dear God, I couldn't
Well,
eat
if you go to Italy and if you're not eating pasta every day, then you're
like
doing something
twice
wrong.
a day. It was so good. So good. But alrighty, my brother, I appreciate all of your tips and advice. And thank you for coming on. And I'm sure you're going to be on many more times with many more travel stories.
I would definitely hope that, Joey. Again, to anybody who's watching this podcast, Joey is one of the best people that I've met in my life. He's humble. He's he makes everyone laugh and connect around them. So
I appreciate that.
support his podcast, support his channel, give likes, subscribe to his channel.
I appreciate the love.
I love
And
you, man.
I love you too. I'm excited for many more trips, and we'll link up sometime this fall.
Sure.
Yep. Alrighty, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks again. Bye.